Welcome to the Airgun Show. In this week's episode, I'm going to be testing a few different .22 caliber pellets from H&N. But before that, I'm heading out on a bitterly cold, but also pretty productive morning in the woods. Well, that's us off the mark. I don't want to talk too much, obviously, because I don't want to put the squirrels on edge, but I've got to say, this feeder tends to be a real hotspot. Now, year after year, it just pulls in the grey squirrels. And I'm not sure whether it's, well, the likelihood is it's just the area that it's in is good squirrel habitat. But particularly during the winter time on cold days like we've got today, the greys absolutely love it. And I'm glad that they are here today because I've been having a disappointing time around my own feeding stations, but I'll talk more about that a bit later on. That one didn't even make it to the feeder. And I've just realised I forgot to put the scope cam on for that one, so hopefully we will get it on the main camera. Now, you may notice there's a bit of background noise today. We're quite close to a road and also an airfield, but in all honesty, the squirrels here are absolutely accustomed to it, and as I often say, a bit of ambient noise usually helps to mask the noise that we're making. And there's another one. Now that one was initially showing a bit of interest in the shot one by the logs, but it then appeared to spook and it looked like it was going to dart off up the tree, but it settled just above the feeder, and obviously that proved to be a very costly mistake. Up the tree, mate. Well, that one hung on for a bit, dropped quickly enough though without a second shot. It's stone dead over there. Actually had to wait a bit longer for that one, and I clocked it absolutely pegged to the trunk, and it was frozen like it knew we were here. Obviously Nikki didn't have a chance to get on it, and apologies because I didn't take the time to refocus the scope cam, so I hope there's some decent footage of that one. Right, it's going a bit quiet now, so good time to have a brew just to warm up a bit, but while I do, just a quick bit of advice on shooting grey squirrels in really cold weather like we've got today. I mean, the last couple of nights it's gone down to about -6. Now normally when I'm shooting squirrels, I would say the best times are first light and last light. So I'd want to be in the hide at dawn, this time of year maybe 6:30 in the morning, to catch the squirrels when they're waking up hungry, or for the last couple of hours of daylight when they're presumably binging, in readiness for a long night ahead of them. However, I've noticed, and we were talking about it in the car on the way here this morning, the last couple of weeks it's been so cold that morning spell hasn't really happened, and I think it's because the squirrels have just been reluctant to leave their drays. So I've been sitting back and waiting till about 9:30, letting the sun get a bit higher, raise the air temperature, at which point it doesn't seem to be too much of a wait until those squirrels start moving. Otherwise, you're having a lot of very cold, unproductive, and just generally miserable hours in the hide before you can expect to get a few shots. Tree, mate. I've got no scope cam. Are you on it?
Yeah, I've got it.
Yeah, you on it? Yeah. Well, how about that? Again, spotted one that looked quite settled in the tree. I don't think it looked like it was immediately going to make its way to the feeder, but it was still like it had some idea that we were here, so I didn't want to hang around too long. Battery is now flat in the scope cam, so no scope cam footage for that, but it sounds like Nikki was on it. So yeah, another one in the bag. Now it's not been a bad session. Did have a bit of a wait for that one, to be honest, but it's gone okay. So I'm going to make that the last one. I need to get going after we've picked up, but before I do that, I will just talk you through the kit that I've been using this morning, and also how we came to be targeting this pheasant feeder and not my usual bait stations. So, as is usually the case, the reason that we're controlling the squirrels here is to reduce the damage that they're causing to trees, and also the harm that they're causing to the native wildlife here. Now, I do actually have bait stations of my own set up in these woods, but they've been really disappointing in terms of the numbers of squirrels that they're attracting. Now, I've been doing a bit of experimentation, trying out different baits, trying to find something that's more affordable than peanuts, but still appealing to grey squirrels. And it has been really disappointing. At the moment, I'm using whole maize, and although it has some attraction, the squirrels still seem to be a lot more interested in the wheat at the gamekeepers' feeders, and particularly at this one, which, as I've said before, tends to produce the goods year in, year out. You know, we've made videos in this spot before, and I actually leave a hide here most of the time. Now, I have shot a few squirrels around the feeders that I've got loaded with whole maize, but nothing like the numbers that I usually get with peanuts, so I think it's safe to say that I'm going to be going back onto that usual bait pretty soon. So the kit that I'm using today, the gun is the FX Panthera Hunter Compact, which is a lovely little air rifle. Now, it looks fairly simplistic, but apart from the huge amount of tunability that it's also got a lot of adjustment in the cheek support and the butt, so that makes it a really comfortable gun to shoot. Now, this one is FAC rated, but I'm running it at a fairly modest 24 foot-pounds, which, as I hope you should have been able to see today, it's got plenty of clout, but as I've said before, if you've got too much grunt, you have to start worrying about carry and ricochet, and when you're shooting in the confines of woodland, I find this sort of power level is just a really nice balance. Ammo-wise, I've paired it with the 18 grain version of 22 caliber dead center pellets. Now, I've been using this ammo for a while, and I've got to say, I'm really impressed with it. Very clean, tidy pellets. They look really neat and consistent in the tin, and this gun just is shooting really sweet with them. So the scope I've been using today is the Hawk Sidewinder 30 SF. Now it's a great optic, it's got a very bright, sharp sight picture, and as often happens, I do expect that that will be compromised in the scope cam footage because you do tend to lose some image quality through the additional lenses and just the fact that you can't always get it perfectly focused. Incidentally, the height I'm in today is about 30 meters from the feeder, so shots taken at squirrels around that feeder have needed just a touch of hold under, and obviously that's made easier by the multi-aim point reticle on this scope. Now, as ever, the scope's held on with my trusty Sports Match scope mounts. I've used them for decades and they have just never let me down. So that's the kit and how we ended up being here. I'm going to head for home now for some lunch and also to warm up because it's absolutely freezing in the woods this morning. A very cold but also very enjoyable session on the greys there. Next up, let's take a look at a few 22 caliber pellets from H&N. Right, we've got another pellet test this week. John Rothery Wholesale have sent me a selection of 22 pellets from H&N, a brand with a brilliant pedigree when it comes to airgun ammo. So today I'm going to be looking at the accuracy and penetration of the Baracuda 15, the Baracuda 18 and the Baracuda Hunter. All the groups that I'm going to show you were shot outdoors with a Walther RM8. Now, a point that I always like to try and stress when I'm showing results that I've been getting with ammo is the fact that different airguns tend to shoot better with different pellets, and you can never really know for sure what's going to work best with yours until you try for yourself. However, going from my findings, these should be potentially very good pellets and will certainly be worth a try. First up, we've got the Baracuda 15. Now, I assume that its name refers to its weight, although its actual stated weight is 15.89 grains, so it's actually closer to being a Baracuda 16. Now, this is your classic domed or round head pellet design, and the stated head size for these is 5.52 millimeters. The recommended retail price is $9.95 for 250, and although there was no foam disc in the tin, they still arrived in excellent condition. As ever, I'm going to refer to my notes now to make sure that all of the information I give you is dead right. So, as already mentioned, I used a Walther RM8 and shot 5 shot groups at 20, 30 and 40 meters, and I was sticking with a 30 meter zero. So running through the RM8, the Baracuda 15s produced a muzzle energy of around 11.36 foot-pounds with a variation of 8 feet per second over a string of 10 shots. At 20 meters, they produced a 5 shot group measuring just 9 millimeters from center to center and striking 13 millimeters high. At 30 meters, the 5 shot group measured 10 millimeters from center to center and was obviously smack on zero. At 40 meters, the group was still a respectable 17 millimeters from center to center and had dropped 49 millimeters from that 30 meter zero. So all in all, I think that is pretty solid performance. Next up, we have the H&N Baracuda 18. Now, very similar to the previous round, this is another classic round head or domed pellet. Stated weight is 18.13 grains, and these have a 5.52 millimeter head size. Recommended retail price is $9.95 for 200, and as with the 15s, there was no foam in the screw top tin, but they still came through the post looking very tidy. Okay, back to my notes. Now, the Baracuda 18s returned a higher muzzle energy of 11.7 foot-pounds and were slightly more consistent with a variation of 7 feet per second over a string of 10 shots. Now, at 20 metres, the 5-shot group measured 10 millimetres from centre to centre and was striking 17 millimetres high. At 30 metres, the group measured 11 millimetres from centre to centre and was dead on zero. At 40 metres, the group was just 13 millimetres from centre to centre. Now that is the tightest 40 metre group that we've got in this test, but the group had dropped by 55 millimetres from that 30 metre zero, although that is no great surprise at all because this is quite a heavy round for a sub-12 airgun. The final pellet in this test, the Baracuda Hunter, is a bit different because it has a big hollow point recess which is intended to deliver more shock energy. Now, this is a fairly heavy pellet. Stated weight is 18.21 grains and the head size of these is 5.5 millimeters. Now again, the recommended retail price is $9.95 for 200. As with the others, there is no foam in the tin, but once again, they came through the post and arrived in really clean, tidy condition. Right, power-wise, the Baracuda Hunters were giving me 11.4 foot-pounds. Now, they were actually the most consistent through the RM8 with a variation of just 4 feet per second over a string of 10 shots. The 20 metre group measured just 9 millimetres from centre to centre and struck 16 millimetres high from that 30 metre zero. At 30 metres, the group was 14 millimetres from centre to centre and was obviously smack on zero. At 40 metres, the group had opened up to 28 millimetres and had dropped 57 millimetres. Now with this setup, certainly with the setup I was using, I would say that that 40 metre group is just too loose to consider using for hunting, but that's no great surprise because the intended use for this sort of hollow point ammo is usually close to medium range pest control, and accuracy wise these actually performed significantly better than a lot of hollow point ammo that I have used. I've also done some penetration tests. Now, they're not very scientific, just shooting into plasticine at 20 metres, but the results have been quite interesting. So, the Baracuda 15 penetrated 30 millimetres and didn't deform very much, and I wouldn't really have expected it to. Now, I thought the extra momentum of the heavier Baracuda 18 would have made it penetrate significantly deeper, but it only went in 1 millimetre further to make a 31 millimetre deep channel. And again, it didn't deform very much. The Baracuda Hunter is the interesting one, as it has that big dum-dum style hollow point, and it did certainly seem to do its job. The drag of the hollow point kept the penetration down to just 20 millimetres, and this round certainly expanded. Now you can see, hopefully through the footage that I've got, of how the hollow point opened up, and I've got no doubt that it would do that a lot more were it to strike bone on real quarry rather than just plasticine. I think that choosing between these pellets would ultimately boil down to what you want to use them for. Now, with my setup, it's clear that the Baracuda Hunter would be the one to go for if I wanted some real wallop for close range pest control. As for the other two, it could be that one of them just shoots better through your gun, and being slightly heavier, I think the Baracuda 18 would be well worth a try at FAC power. I mean, having said that, it also produced the tightest group at 40 metres through my sub-12 gun. It would just be a matter of having to use a bit more holdover to compensate for that drop at longer range. I always try to keep my ammo tests fairly simple, and the groups that I've shown you here are average ones from several shot with each pellet. Now, I had a nice calm day for my testing, and as far as I'm concerned,
those groups are a pretty fair representation of how each pellet performed with my setup. As I said at the start, the only sure way to find out how a pellet will perform with your airgun is to try it for yourself. Now, the three that I've shown here are all really neat, well-made pellets, typical of the quality that I've come to expect from H&N, and I would say that they are certainly well worth a try if you're looking for a pellet to test through your .22 caliber airgun.
I'm afraid that's all we've got time for this week, but as ever, I'll be back with more in 2 weeks' time. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, do check out the subscription offers that we have for Airgun World magazine. You should be able to find a link to that in the show description. And remember to tune in for the Airgun World podcast, which goes out fortnightly on this channel on Fridays. So, I'll see you again in a fortnight. In the meantime, enjoy your shooting and stay safe.
Book a ticket to the Great British Shooting Show today. Enjoy free car parking and a free show guide, and the largest selection of shooting retailers under one roof. It's the biggest, the best, the British.